Tonight, closer to a peace plan, but still miles apart on who will control key territories. What came from the high-stakes Ukraine-U.S. summit at Mar-a-Lago?
I just think we're doing very well. We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues.
And what the leaders had to say about when the war with Russia could end. Plus, tragedy in the sky. Two helicopters collide midair in New Jersey. And remembering an icon of the silver screen.
Here is the drama of the life and loves of a young girl of today.
The enduring force of French actress Brigitte Bardot.
CTV National News with Heather Butts. Reporting tonight, Mirella Fernandez.
Good evening. The American president says Ukraine and Russia are closer than ever to a peace deal. Donald Trump spoke after a Mar-a-Lago meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, but there are no guarantees a 20-point plan will go ahead. With deep divisions over the future of territories Moscow's military has moved into. CTV's Kamal Karamali reports.
A high-stakes meeting between two presidents that they hope could lead to the end of a nearly 4-year war between Russia and Ukraine.
No, I think we'll get it done. I don't want to say when, but I think we're going to get it done.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida to try and get U.S. President Donald Trump to help carry his peace plan across the finish line.
I just think we're doing very well. We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues.
One of those thorny issues appears to be territory in eastern Ukraine. Zelensky now willing to withdraw troops if Russia does the same and allow the region to become a demilitarized zone.
This is a very tough question, and of course we have with Russians different positions on it.
That is beneficial both to Ukraine and not to Russia because they don't want to move off of the front lines at all. They want to keep the line right where it is.
Ukraine is also looking for security guarantees in the form of support from other nations should Russia attack again.
Those security guarantees will be provided not only by European and NATO nations, but in the 20-point plan, it specifically spells out the United States. And President Trump has also indicated that the United States is prepared to do that.
Good to see you, Mark. Thank you. Part of the reason why rounding up backing from Canada, which includes $2.5 billion in aid, along with support from European leaders Saturday, was crucial before meeting Trump. Both presidents spending an hour on the phone today with European leaders, appearing to seal that support. But questions remain on whether that will sway Russian President Vladimir Putin and have him meet the terms of the peace plan.
Nobody really knows whether Putin is serious about trying to find some sort of negotiated settlement or whether he's just stringing Trump along.
Trump added he would hold another call with Putin. Now both U.S. and Ukrainian presidents will meet with European teams in the coming weeks with hopes of coming to a resolution early in the new year. Mirella.
All right, thanks, Kamal. Officials have confirmed that a Quebec man has drowned in Florida. The tragedy happening Friday on a beach northeast of Orlando. The local rescue service says the 44-year-old man was found floating face down in a rip current about 130 meters from shore. He was brought back to the beach but was pronounced dead at hospital. His name has not been released. Toronto police searching for this man, saying he approached someone on a subway platform this morning and attempted to light their jacket on fire. The person wasn't hurt. The suspect fled the scene. There are weather warnings in effect across Canada, from the bitter cold out west to freezing rain in Ontario, and then blowing snow in Quebec and farther east. In Montreal, it will feel like minus 18 with the wind chill tonight. That has crews out scouring the city to find warm places for those who need one. Here's CTV's Kelly Gregg.
Every single one of these 160 beds were full last night, with the Welcome Hall Mission's St. Antoine Street dorms at capacity. But there is a difference this year compared to others.
The demand is up. It's very clear. We do have more spaces available to us this year.
An outreach worker.
Earlier this month, the city announced its goal of adding 500 more spots in warming shelters. Watt says it has eased the pressure, but it isn't the best solution.
Those spaces are often suboptimal. They're chairs in corners of rooms, they're cots in the basement of churches.
The Old Brewery Mission runs a shuttle service to find people places for the night. It agrees this winter is better than last.
It has been easier to place people this year than last year. We have a little bit of oxygen that we've not seen in the previous years, and that's very welcome.
And while the city has appealed to businesses and building owners to make spaces available, it's often a stopgap measure.
We would like more services to be 24/7. We're seeing a lot of the services in the evening and overnight only. We need to stretch that out so people have the capacity to get inside during the day.
But while there is more vacancies at shelters and warming centers, demand is up too.
Demand has not abated. Demand is continuous. It's intense.
There has already been one death this winter in Montreal after a man's tent caught on fire in Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Police believe he was trying to stay warm. While it's not a perfect solution, spaces like these are a way to survive.
It is a way to ensure that they stay alive.
And with overnight temperatures in the mid-minus teens this week, they say any measure is better than sleeping outside. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
Making sure that we have enough candles and flashlights and batteries, and of course, charging all of our devices.
Preparations underway all day in Ottawa for that expected blast of freezing rain. Environment Canada says there could be 15 to 20 millimeters of ice accumulation, along with gusty winds. Officials in Ontario are confirming a case of avian influenza in a town about an hour north of Toronto. The Canadian Wildlife Health Cooperative says the virus was found in a dead goose at a pond in the town of New Tecumseth. Area residents have been asked to avoid ponds and other waterfowl habitats and not to handle any sick or dead wildlife. The cost of borrowing has dropped this year in Canada, and home prices have come down as well. Still, many find it impossible to get into the market. CTV's Maria Saru tonight with a look at the inventory on the island and why ownership remains a dream for some.
For islanders dreaming of a place of their own, the gap between wanting a house and affording one can still feel wide. Margaret Campbell and her partner moved back to P.E.I. after living in Halifax, hoping to buy at a better price.
At least we'd own our home and we'd be secure in the knowledge that we're not going to get rent evicted.
Instead, the couple and their 4 kids settled on a rented 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. They've put the dream of buying on hold, saying it's simply not possible, though it's what they want for their family.
We just want somewhere to live forever and our kids to have a yard to play in, and preferably their own bedrooms or at least rooms that are big enough to share comfortably. Somewhere that when we're gone one day, they'll have that.
Numbers released this month by the P.E.I. Real Estate Association show that the benchmark price of a home this November was almost $370,000, down from about $374,000 last November, a drop of roughly 1%.
There's actually quite a high inventory of houses here on Prince Edward Island the past couple years, really, which will give buyers more of an opportunity to be picky.
Real estate agent Jeff McKay adds, despite that recent cooling, prices overall are still headed up.
It changes small amounts each year. Like you won't see the big jumps. So I think it'll be steady growth, but marginal.
Nationally, British Columbia has the highest home price of around $968,500. New Brunswick has the lowest at $334,000. Homes here on PEI are still well below the national non-seasonally adjusted average price of about $682,000, according to the Canadian Real Estate Association. But for families like Campbell's, buying is still a stretch. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
At least one person has been killed in a dramatic mid-air collision between 2 helicopters. Cell phone video captured one of the helicopters spiraling through the sky in New Jersey before slamming into the ground. Another person on board one of the choppers was transported to hospital with critical injuries. No word yet on what caused the collision, but the National Transportation Safety Board is now investigating. Some passengers living with a disability have been speaking out against WestJet and the weight restrictions it has put on mobility aids. CTV's Alex Carper spoke to travelers and found the impact they say the rules are having on their lives.
Travel has always been a big part of Charisse Griffin's life. She's flown countless times with WestJet before and never had any issues. That is, up until this year. The airline's weight restriction policy for power wheelchairs has made flying much more difficult.
A lot of hassle. It's been frustrating and angry.
WestJet has a cap of 300 pounds for mobility aids on the vast majority of its aircraft. Griffin says this limit is a barrier for many power wheelchair users.
Majority of power wheelchairs like mine, are over 300 pounds.
Former MP Stephen Fletcher says he was told by an airline agent last February that they would not be able to carry his wheelchair on a flight from Winnipeg to Toronto due to its weight.
WestJet has invented a policy that discriminates.
Fletcher filed a regulatory complaint with the Canadian Transportation Agency. In a documented response, the airline said accessibility regulations allow it to refuse transport of heavier mobility aids. The document also states that power wheelchairs would, quote, jeopardize aircraft airworthiness.
That is a very serious thing to say, because if it's true, then we have an international crisis.
We reached out to WestJet to get a better explanation of their decision, but have not received a response. For Griffin, the message to the airline is simple: change the rule.
All I'm looking for is equal access so that I can fly on the same carrier that you can.
Griffin says flying is already difficult enough for her in the situation she is in, but says this rule makes it far more stressful and uncomfortable. Alex Carper, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Some sad news from the world of entertainment. One of the most famous sex symbols in cinema history has died.
Stop laughing.
Brigitte Bardot became an international sensation with the 1956 release of And God Created Woman. The steamy, romantic drama cemented Bardot's sexy persona and helped establish the French New Wave film movement. After nearly 50 movies over 2 decades, Bardot retired from acting in the early 70s, becoming a passionate animal rights activist and establishing a foundation devoted to the prevention of animal cruelty. In a post on social media, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, wrote, "We mourn a legend of the century." Brigitte Bardot was 91. Coming up, the story that dominated 2025.
We don't need their cars. We don't need the other products. We don't need their milk.
The threats and taunts over tariffs and what it all means for Canada's upcoming trade talks. "2025 began with threats of upending global trade, with the U.S. president eventually unveiling a long list of countries to be hit by tariffs. That was just the beginning of a long and onerous trade dispute that has decimated some key Canadian industries. CTV's Mike Locatore has a look at a year of complete turmoil in trade.
We don't need their cars. We don't need the other products. We don't need their milk.
It was the opening salvo in the year-long trade war. Threatening to take Canada by economic force, President Donald Trump floated punishing tariffs on his first day in office.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
They applied to all goods not covered by CUSMA. The day they took effect, Canada hit back.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Provinces also joined in the fight, removing American alcohol from liquor stores and threatening to cut off energy exports to the U.S.
The next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
After campaigning on going elbows up in the face of Trump's tariffs, Prime Minister Mark Carney went to D.C. a week after the election, looking to reset the relationship. In that Oval Office meeting, the Prime Minister did push back on talk of Canada becoming the 51st state.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale.
The two met again at the G7 in Kananaskis, where they reportedly set a 30-day timeline to get a deal done. But the pathway remained the problem.
I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good.
Over the summer, Canada responded to Trump's complaint about the digital services tax by removing it. While talks continued, so did the threats and uncertainty for businesses.
You guys are about as dumb as a bag of hammers for doing this.
And when the company that makes Crown Royal whiskey moved work at a bottling plant from Ontario to the U.S., Premier Ford didn't hold back.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing.
With trade talks slowing, another Oval Office meeting took place in October, where Trump spoke glowingly of Carney and Canada.
I would think he's more popular now. He's a good man, he does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man too.
But that laughter would fade after Ontario released an anti-tariff ad in the U.S., using a speech by former President Ronald Reagan. Trump called it a hostile act, while his ambassador to Canada described it as election interference.
A foreign government running political ads in the United States during election season is unprecedented.
Carney would apologize to Trump at the APEC summit, and weeks later, the Prime Minister downplayed how much or little he communicates with Trump.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters.
Those words got this response from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
All of us on this side of the House care about the communities that are being emptied out in our forestry, the steel workers in Hamilton who don't have jobs to pay their mortgages. We care.
Carney, Trump, and Sheinbaum had a 45-minute meeting after the FIFA World Cup draw. In the same week that Trump mused about letting CUSMA expire, he also agreed to keep working on the trade agreement.
Canada makes a lot of things that we don't need because we make them also. But we'll work it out.
The following week, Canada's envoy to D.C. announced she would be stepping down in the new year, saying it was time.
Our discussions with the United States with the CUSMA review, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Trade Agreement review, that's going to start up in the new year. And I think it's important that we have someone in place that is going to be here through the conclusion of those discussions.
The formal joint review of CUSMA is scheduled for July 1st, 2026, setting up what could be another year of turmoil with our largest trading partner. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Still ahead. Keeping a herding tradition alive in Newfoundland, one sheep at a time. Animals are hard to herd at the best of times. Imagine trying to ferry a flock of them to an island. It's a tradition for a Newfoundland farmer, one he's passing on to the next generation. CTV's Garrett Barry with the story of Ship Island and the sheep that rule the rock.
A house call like no other. As his father and grandfather did before, Keith Morey boards this boat to care for his flock on Ship Island. Here, the sheep roam free from predators and free to graze on salty, windswept grass that Morey believes improves the animal's flavor when the lambs get to the plate.
Coyotes are so numerous now, and they're getting bolder all the time. They're out in the middle of the day. It's just, this for us, this is a godsend, having this safe haven.
It's a cooperative of sorts. A handful of farmers share this island near Torscove in Newfoundland and share the labor of upkeep. It takes all of them, and more besides, to herd the animals, to check them for worms and other illnesses. This tradition has changed a lot. Lambs used to be caught one by one, brought down to the boat by rope. Now, the biggest challenge is getting enough people to herd.
The sheep that come here year after year, and some are leaders and they know the routine. Sometimes you come out, as soon as they see us coming up over the bank, they say, oh, especially in the fall of the year, they almost come running to the chute because they know it's time to go home.
Keith's nephew, Matt, and his son, Liam, are part of the next generation.
It was just the way of life, you know, so me committed to taking this over, you know, it's always been, it's in my blood, you know.
They say they're bucking the trend. They will keep this farming alive, even if fewer and fewer of their peers are interested. Garrett Berry, CTV News, in Ship Island, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Still ahead, the surprising story behind the baseball anthem for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Canadian press has named the Toronto Blue Jays Team of the Year. No surprise there, with the Jays delivering that stellar World Series performance. And one thing you were guaranteed to hear fans belting out during that run was the team's anthem, OK Blue Jays. CTV's John Venevalley-Rao on the history of the tune in one of our favorite stories of the year.
It's a staple of the seventh inning stretch whenever the Blue Jays play at home. A song that's been around for more than 40 years.
You got a diamond, you got 9 men.
And one musician, Jack Lenz, helped to compose in a single afternoon back in 1982.
And that's not all. Yeah, it was an afternoon, a couple hours.
Back then, Lenz and songwriting partner Tony Kosnick were asked to come up with a commercial to help market the Blue Jays to people who may not be baseball fans, which included Lenz and Kosnick, who'd never been to a big league game.
Neither of us were qualified to write that song.
Lenz says then Blue Jays executive Paul Beeston met with him and told the pair, when writing the song, to take into consideration the team was just 5 years old.
He didn't want to promise too much, so we could say they were okay. That was exact words. But fortunately, okay rhymed with Blue Jays, right?
They figured the song they came up with would last about a year, but it was released as a record that eventually went gold, selling more than 50,000 copies.
This is original.
This goes back to 1982.
Yeah.
Lenz showing us the sheet music that's now a piece of Blue Jays history.
You got the bleachers, you got them from spring till fall.
A song that featured the voice of musician Keith Hampshire.
A little OK Blue Jays.
Who says almost no one knows it's him singing the lyrics.
I go to the ball games now with my grandson, and when he was little, he used to look at me and go, "Is that you, Papa?" I go, "Yeah, that's me, son."
Hampshire is a big Jays fan and pleased the song lives on.
Okay.
And like Lenz, hoping the team is more than just okay in the playoffs.
Let's.
John Venevalley-Rao, CTV News.
Crack.
Toronto.
That's a wrap on the day. For all of us here at CTV National News, thanks for joining us. Good night.